and maybe to redefine what the national interest is. What are we? And I think what is really happening in the country is, in their tens of millions, people are asking themselves, what is happening to our country? Is going on. There is a massive identity crisis out there. Huge. What does it mean to be British anymore? In particular, what does it mean to be English anymore? What are the values that we stand up and represent? What is our place in the world? Why is the town 20 miles down the road now literally unrecognisable in every way? Why are my kids being poisoned at school and told that everything about our history is wicked and evil? That's the really big debate that's happening in Britain. And politics isn't filling that gap, and that's why you saw a miserable turnout. Politics has caused the problem.
The changes brought by immigration, particularly from Muslim-majority countries. Farage seems to suggest that these changes are causing people to feel disconnected from their own country. He also criticizes the way history is being taught, saying that kids are being told that everything about British history is wrong or bad. He argues that this is creating confusion and anger among people. The low voter turnout, in his view, is a sign that people are losing faith in politics to address these concerns. He feels that the current political system is not dealing with these issues effectively, leaving a gap that is making people more worried and uncertain about their future. This commentary highlights a deep anxiety about cultural and national identity in the face of immigration and changing demographics. While some may agree with Farage's concerns, others might see this perspective as overly negative or even harmful, as it risks fostering division and fear. It was ultimately a disgusting display of thuggery, continuing well into the evening, with our policing operation only finishing around 5 a.m. It's important to recognize the complexity of these issues and to seek solutions that bring people together rather than driving them apart. You have the cultural problem, and I touched on it earlier, parts of the country being literally unrecognizable, language being used by the extreme within the Muslim community, that if you or I said any of those things the other way around, we'd probably get arrested and put in prison. No, politics has caused many of these problems. Therefore, logically, politics has to try to help to find some of the solutions. Nigel Farage goes further to express his concern that parts of the UK have become literally unrecognizable due to changes in the population and culture, particularly in areas with a large Muslim community. He points out that some of the language and behaviors within these communities would be considered unacceptable or even illegal if expressed by others. This, he suggests, is creating a double standard where certain groups are treated differently under the law. Farage argues that politics is partly to blame for these issues. According to him, political decisions and policies have led to these changes, creating divisions and a sense of alienation among many people. Therefore, he believes that politics must also be the solution. He suggests that the government and political leaders need to address these problems more directly and honestly, finding ways to restore a sense of unity and shared identity in the country. This perspective raises important questions about integration, equality, and the role of government in managing cultural diversity. On one hand, it's essential to ensure that all communities feel included and respected in society. On the other hand, there's a need to maintain a sense of common values and identity that can unite people from different backgrounds. There is a big sense of dissatisfaction out there. People are looking for something that is positive. People are looking for something that is affirmative. People are looking for something that redefines identity and values and culture. Nigel Farage continues by focusing on a specific concern he sees within the UK, particularly among young Muslim men aged 18 to 24. He points out that some of these British-born individuals are being drawn to extremist ideas like jihad. This, according to Farage, signals a deeper issue within the country that needs to be addressed through reform. Farage suggests that while the current political system is flawed, changes are inevitable. However, he seems to doubt the effectiveness of some proposed solutions like devolution, where more powers are given to local governments. He questions whether devolution is truly working in practice, despite it sounding good in theory. Moreover, Farage believes that the British people are among the most tolerant and relaxed when it comes to different races, nationalities, and skin colours. He argues that the UK, compared to many other countries, has a generally positive attitude toward diversity. But despite this tolerance, he feels that there is a growing divide in society about what it means to be British. This question of identity, according to him, is becoming more pressing and could lead to deeper divisions if not addressed. Farage's concerns reflect a fear that the country is losing its sense of identity and cohesion. He seems to worry that the current political approaches like devolution are not sufficient to manage these challenges and might even make things worse. On the other hand, some may argue that the UK's diversity and tolerance are strengths that should be celebrated, and that focusing too much on issues like extremism could lead to unfair generalizations and increased tension between communities. The challenge lies in finding ways to address security concerns and questions of identity without undermining the values of openness and acceptance that many in the UK hold dear. You know, we have a particular problem with 18 to 24-year-old young Muslim men in Britain, British-born, a growing number being attracted to concepts such as jihad, etc. And I believe reform can only grow from here as well, so completely. Irresponsible, uncontrolled mass migration has not just diminished the quality of life for almost everybody in this country dramatically in the last 25 years, and particularly the last 14, but it has also led to many of these divisions. I mean, look, then we have the race divide, which doesn't exist, but people want to exist because that's their industry. And when I say it doesn't exist, I genuinely don't think it exists compared to almost every other country on the planet. I think our general level of attitude towards different races, different nationalities, different skin colors, I think we're the most relaxed people on earth. And I mean, you know, you've written about this and talked about this in the past, but there comes a point at which we say, who are we? What is our identity? So yeah, the divides are going to get worse. I sense the way in which we're governed is just not going to improve. Labour want more and more and more devolution. Well, that's fine in theory, but in practice, you've got to ask, is devolution actually working?
You know, we have a particular problem with 18 to 24-year-old young Muslim men in Britain, British-born, a growing number being attracted to concepts such as jihad, etc. And I believe reform can only grow from here as well. So completely irresponsible, uncontrolled mass migration has not just diminished the quality of life for almost everybody in this country dramatically in the last 25 years, and particularly the last 14, but it has also led to many of these divisions. I mean, look, then we have the race divide, which doesn't exist, but people want to exist because that's their industry. And when I say it doesn't exist, I genuinely don't think it exists compared to almost every other country on the planet. I think our general level of attitude towards different races, different nationalities, different skin colours. I think we're the most relaxed people on earth. And I mean, you know, you've written about this and talked about this in the past. But there comes a point at which we say, who are we? What is our identity? So yeah, the divides are going to get worse. I sense the way in which we're governed is just not going to improve. Labour want more and more and more devolution. Well, that's fine in theory, but in practice, you've got to ask, is devolution actually working?